Hello everyone, welcome to the session. So I will be starting up with the steps in planning. So here there are 7 different steps in planning. They are establishing objectives, establishing planning premises, deciding the planning period, finding alternative course of action, evaluating and selecting a course of action, and developing derivative plans, followed by measuring and controlling the progress. What is this establishing of an objectives? So establishing of objectives is nothing but setting the goals of the organization as a whole and setting the goals for departments also, right? So setting the goals for individual department. Here, once the goal has been set for the organization as a whole, it is the general goal. So when it comes to departmental goal, it is completely detailed and planned. Establishing planning premises. Planning premises are nothing but the assumptions which we are going to make about the future, where future is uncertain. So here under planning premises, it is going to focus or forecast towards the environmental changes, technological changes, financial investment changes, and so on. So further, this planning premises is going to be divided into 3 different types. They are, first one, internal premises and external premises. So what is the difference between internal and external premises? Internal premises are the premises within the organization and or under the control of the organization, whereas external premises are the premises which are outside the organization and are not under the control of organization. So here example, we can take the financial investment which is going to be made by the company can be controlled, right? So the different types of jobs and how many people needs to be hired for the organization can be easily controllable. So external premises are the premises which are not under the control of the organization because it is going to happen outside the organization. So example, so technological changes which is going to happen outside the environment and it cannot be changed. The second type includes the tangible and intangible premises. Tangible premises are the one which is going to be measured, right? So which is going to be measured is going to be called as tangible premises, right? So tangible premises example when we are going to take is quality of the product which is going to be manufactured by the organization can be easily measured. So that is one simple example we can consider under the tangible premises. So intangible premises are the one which is not going to be intangible premises are the one which is not going to be measured quantitatively. That is going to be considered under intangible premises. So here we can consider as an example business environment, economic conditions, and so on. Moving further, so controllable and uncontrollable premises. So controllable premises are the premises which are under the control of the organization, whereas uncontrollable premises are the one which is not controllable by the organization. So here how much investment the organization has going to be made, right? So this can be controllable, right? The quality of the product can be controllable within the organization, Whereas strike, which is going to happen outside the organization, it cannot be controlled. Whatever the technological changes which is going to happen, that cannot be controlled. So henceforth, these are the three different types of premises which comes under planning premises. So moving further, deciding the planning period. So here the company can plan for 1 year or up to a decade, that is for 10 years. So here, in order to come up with a product and commercialization of that particular product, the company may in need of more than 1 year. So, and also whatever the investment that has been made by the organization, in order to recover those investment amount, so it may need more than 1 year. So likewise, whatever the debts they have taken from different organization, in order to repay or clear every debts they have made. So in order to perform all those activities, so here the company can plan to exist for 1 year up to a decade or more number of decades also. Finding alternative course of action. So what is this finding alternative course of action is all about? If the company is selling its product via distributors, so what are the alternative course of action it can consider? So it can prefer to do the online transaction, or else via agencies also it can distribute the products or provide the service to the consumers, right? So those alternatives need to be found out by the organization. So next, once the alternative course of action has been found by the organization, so they need to evaluate it and select the best course of action. So here when they have to evaluate, so they need to consider the cost factors, risk factors, and whatever the profit they can get in order to choose a specific course of action. So they need to evaluate based on these type of factors and take a decision of selecting a course of action which are of their interest. So next is developing derivative plans. So derivative plans are also called as the sub plans or departmental plans. These sub plans or departmental plans is going to help the organization to reach the goal effectively. Why? So once the organization is going to decide or set up the goal, right? So there are different plans which will be taken by the department. So in any organization, so there will be a human resource department. This is the department where it is going to hire the employees, give the training to them, and also places to different departments. So there is a production department where it is going to take up the complete necessary things in order to have the production smoothly, right? So this is one more department. So here purchase department is going to be there in any organization. So where it is going to purchase the required raw materials in order to reach the objective of the company. So when it comes to departmental plans, so they are going to plan, so how many employees are going to be needed in order to carry out the work to reach the goal of the organization within the deadline is taken care by the HR department. So production, so in order to do the production of any particular product, what are the different types of resources, whether it could be the man, material, and other resources or raw materials, it has to take decision about how much of resources is needed and what are the different types of machines which are required, how many hours it has to work and all. So purchase department is going to take care about what are all the resources that needs to be purchased, and finance department is going to take care about the financial needs of any department. So there are many departments like this, right? So here all these departments are going to coordinate with each other in achieving the objectives set by the organization. So last thing is measuring and controlling the progress. So this is the last step in planning, right? So this is going to be used after implementation. So here the manager is going to continuously watch the progress of whatever the plan they are having. So if they find any flaws, so they are going to eliminate that particular flaws so that it is not going to reoccur again in future. So this completes chapter number 2, planning. Let us move on to the next chapter, that is organizing. Chapter number 3, organizing. So what is organizing is all about? So organizing is nothing but assigning the tasks, grouping the tasks into department and allocating the required resources all across the organization. So during the organizing process, manager has to take care in order to coordinate with all the different types of resources and also the policies and the regulation, right? So because they have to fulfill the objectives of the organization, right, as planned. So here the first topic which I will be covering is nature of organization. So in order to understand the nature of organization, first and foremost thing is, what is organization? So organization is a group of people where they are going to work coordinating with each other in order to achieve the goal or objective set by the organization. So organization can be divided into formal organization and so what is the difference between formal organization and informal organization? So formal organization is the organization which is been formed by the top level management of the organization. So and here the job of each and every employee is very clear. So whatever the authority responsibility has been given, so it is fixed, right, in formal organization. So when it comes to informal organization, so this is the organization formed by the formal organization, so based upon the interpersonal relationship among the employees. So if they want to create a club where some people are interested to join the club, so that is one of the best example for informal organization. So there will be an organization in order to carry out a different task within the organization. So some of the employees may join together in order to form the club, and whoever is interested in joining the club, they can join there. So in order to create the social and interpersonal relationship with each other, they are going to form the club. So here it is going to exist for longer period of time. It is going to be for shorter period of time. So likewise, so here when the communication is going to happen in the formal organization, so here it is going to happen from top level management through middle level management and then to the lower level management. Means it is going to follow the hierarchy, whereas here the communication is going to happen all the way. So here there are different employees who are going to have who will be in different positions. So here all the members of the club are one and same. So this is how we can differentiate between the formal organization and informal organization. So let us have a look into the next topic, that is types of organization. There are 5 different types of organizational structure that the organization or the company or the enterprise or the sector is going to make use of. Let us have a look into each one of them in detail. So the first one is line or military or scalar organization. So it is a simple type of organization. So it is also called as military organization because it is going to follow the hierarchical structure which is going to be followed in the military organization, that is top level management, middle level management followed by lower level management, right. So here the authority is going to flow from top to bottom, from top level management up to lower level management. So here at every specific line, so immediate boss is going to assign the work, dismiss or take up the necessary disciplinary action. So I will write up a simple example here. So this is the top down approach under the line or military or scalar organization. So here there will be a general manager, under them there will be sales manager, production manager, chief accounts officer. So under them salesman will be there. Here under the accounts officer worker will be there. So under the production manager there will be a foreman for foundry. So here foreman foundry, the role of the foreman foundry is nothing but melting the metals and giving a new shape, right. So after melting that particular metal, so here foreman workshop, and then workshop where the necessary works is going to be carried out, and then the assembly of all the parts which has been developed is going to take place in the assembly. So below them there are workers where they are going to follow the instruction given by the top level management. So here every level is going to be having whatever the instructions that is going to be given by their top level or above them, whoever are there, they are the one who is going to provide the instructions to carry out the work. So accordingly it is going to happen here. So here let us have a look into some pros and cons of this line or military or scalar organization. So here the top down approach is going to be followed. It means that whenever the instructions has been given by the top level management, it is going to be obeyed by the lower level employees without questioning or asking any doubts, right. So here it is going to eliminate whatever the innovative ideas the employees is going to have at the lower level, right. So that is one of the drawback and one of the advantages we can consider here. So here it provides a clear communication because each level is going to be communicated with the level which is one step ahead here. So here there will not be any kind of confusions, because whatever that has been told by the top level management is going to be communicated to the middle level manager. In turn it is going to get communicated to the lower level manager. Henceforth there will not be any kind of confusions regarding whatever the communication it is going to happen in this kind of structure, right. So this is one of the simplest example we can consider. So here there is a strong discipline which is going to be followed here. That is one of the advantage. So only thing is disadvantages, whatever the innovative ideas the workers or the employees is going to have, it cannot be showcased here, right. So moving further, the second one is functional organization. So according to F.W. Taylor, so he is not going to agree that there will be one specialist in all the areas. So here any organization is going to have different departments. So for example, HR department is going to make the recruitment of the employees, give the training and places them to the different departments. So likewise there will be a sales department who is going to take care about the sales which needs to happen within the organization. There will be a marketing department where before the production is going to start, they need to study the market thoroughly, and once the product has been developed within the organization, so what are the different modes of advertising the company's product needs to be taken care by the marketing department. So likewise, every department is going to coordinate with the activities in order to achieve the objective of the goal in functional organization. So when we are going to think about the pros and cons of functional organization is, so here they are going to, we can see that there is a coordination among the different employees no matter to which particular department they belong to. So they are going to work in order to achieve the objective of the organization, right? So every department is going to join their hands towards the achievement of the goal. So this kind of functional organization, so here we can see that many organization is going to make use of this type of functional organization. So moving further, next one is line and staff organization. It is just the extension of the line organization where additional staff executives are included. So I will just modify the same diagram here. So here board of directors is at the top, followed by the general manager, followed by the production manager, sales manager, chief accounts officer, followed by the foreman, followed by the workers. So here we can see I have added something here. So these are nothing but the additional staff executives called as the legal advisor, company secretary, other consultants, sales manager, human resource development manager, stocks officer, industrial engineer, design engineer, safety officer and all. So these are going to form the staff executive. So they are here in order to give the legal advice to different levels of management. So it is up to the line executives. So board of directors, general manager, production manager, chief accounts officer, sales manager, they are going to form the line executive. So they are means this is the staff executive who is going to give the advice to the line executives. It is up to the line executives whether to take up the advice given by the staff executives or not, which is going to help them to make the decision. So looking into the pros and cons, we can say that, so since the staff executives are giving the advice to the line executives, it is going to reduce the burden or workload of the line executives. It helps the line executives to make up the quick decision. And also here the production cost, which can be the cons or the disadvantage, the production cost is going to get increased because fancy salary needs to be given to the staff executives here, right? So these are some of the advantages and disadvantages which we may have in line and staff organization. Moving further, we have matrix or it can also be called as grid organization. So, by combining the functional and project or product organization, so we are going to have a matrix organization. So, with the combination of functional and product or project organization is going to be used in order to form the matrix or grid organization. So, this type of organization structure is used when any organization is going to be involved in more than one project. At the top level, we can have the director of engineers. So, next to them, under the next level, we have chief design. So, chief mechanical engineer, chief electrical engineer, chief mechanical engineer. So, here when the organization is going to carry out 4 different projects, right. So, let us say project A, project B, project C and project D. So, here example, so two-wheeler production, project B is four-wheeler production, right. So, likewise here they may involve in small car development process. So, here they may involve in XUVs, in developing other type of product, right. So, when the organization wants to continue with more than one project, so here we can see that they are going to make use of the same resources which is available within the organization. So, here the different project managers needs to communicate with each other and also with different departments in order to carry out their work here, right. So, when the organization is going to be involved in doing more than one project, so in that particular situation, organizations are going to make use of matrix or grid organization structure. So, this is how we can consider the example, right. So, where the different projects are going to use the same resources which is available within the organization. So, looking into the pros and cons, we can say that it is going to share the same resources which is available in the organization. Hence, whatever the resources, whether it could be the man, material and other things, it is not going to get wasted. So, then we can see that a good coordination among each other can be seen here, right. So, here sometimes it may not be possible to complete the task which they have planned within the time duration which they have planned because of various reasons, because they have to share the resources of the organization among others also, right. So, moving further, so the last type of organization is committee organization. When a single person is not able to do completely the administration work, in that particular situation, 2 or more members can join as a group in order to form the committee organization. So, committee organization is going to have more than one person in that particular organization as the owner of the organization. So, in order to take up any kind of decision, so everybody in that particular group is going to be communicated. So, sometimes we may find there is a dominative person in that particular situation. So, everybody has to obey. So, whatever the dominating person is going to take up the decision in future, right. So, committee organization. so is the one which is going to get established by combining more than 2 or 3 people in order to look into the administrative work. So whenever they have to take the decision, so they have to communicate with each other and take the decision, right. So sometimes with obligation they have to obey whatever the decision that has been made by this type of organization. Hope you all understood. So I will stop at this point of time. So I will be continuing with staffing in the next session. Thank you.